Donald Trump just did something that nobody saw coming, and it could change everything about the global order we've known for decades. After 6 years of silence, Trump and Xi Jinping just met face to face. And what came out of that meeting has experts on both sides questioning whether we're witnessing a historic shift or walking into a carefully disguised trap. Here's what they're not telling you about what happened in Busan. On October 30th, 2025, Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping sat down together in South Korea. First meeting in 6 years. Nearly 2 hours. No cameras inside. And when Trump walked out, he called it incredible. He gave it a 12 out of 10. He called Xi an exceptional leader. That alone should make you stop and think. Because the last time these two were in the same room, the U.S.-China relationship was in free fall. Trade war, tariffs, tech bans, spy balloons, Taiwan tensions, fentanyl flooding American streets. The whole thing was a geopolitical disaster waiting to explode. But something changed in Busan, and the details matter more than the headlines. Let me break down what actually happened because this meeting produced real agreements. Not just photo ops, not just diplomatic pleasantries, actual commitments that will affect American workers, Chinese industries, and the global economy starting immediately. First, the tariff reduction. Trump agreed to cut some tariffs on Chinese goods from 20% down to 10%. That's massive. We're talking about billions of dollars in trade suddenly becoming cheaper. American companies importing Chinese products just got a major cost break. Chinese manufacturers just regained access to their biggest market. But here's the catch. This wasn't a gift, it was a trade. China promised to crack down hard on fentanyl precursor chemicals. These are the building blocks of the synthetic opioids killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. Xi Jinping personally committed to stopping the flow of these chemicals into the United States. And Trump made it clear. You deliver on fentanyl, we deliver on tariffs. That's leverage. That's negotiation. That's Trump treating the opioid crisis like a bargaining chip in the U.S.-China trade war. Second major outcome. China just agreed to buy tremendous quantities of American soybeans and agricultural products. Starting now. Not next quarter, not next year. Immediately. This is huge for American farmers who've been crushed by years of tariff retaliation. Midwest agricultural states just got a lifeline. Soybean exports to China are about to surge. But again, this isn't charity. This is China trying to rebalance the trade deficit. This is Beijing signaling they're willing to make economic concessions to ease tensions with Donald Trump. The question is why now? What changed? What does China need from the United States badly enough to make these deals? Third piece of the puzzle. Rare earth elements. These are the critical minerals that power everything from smartphones to military systems to electric vehicles. China controls most of the global supply, and they've been threatening export restrictions for years as a strategic weapon. But in Busan, Xi agreed to a 1-year deal. No export restrictions, no supply disruptions. For now. Trump called this a win. But think about the timeline. 1 year. That's not a permanent solution. That's a temporary truce. That's China buying time while they figure out their next move, or while Trump figures out his. Now here's where it gets complicated. Right before this meeting, Trump directed the Department of Defense to begin nuclear weapon testing immediately. He framed it as a response to advances by China and Russia. So while Trump and Xi are shaking hands and talking trade deals, the U.S. military is preparing to test nuclear weapons for the first time in decades. That's not détente. That's dual-track strategy. Cooperate economically while competing militarily. And it reveals the fundamental tension at the heart of U.S.-China relations. These two countries need each other economically, but they're rivals geopolitically. And no summit in South Korea is going to resolve that contradiction. Xi Jinping acknowledged this during the meeting. He said frictions between the U.S. and China are normal. But both sides need to maintain the correct trajectory. Translation. We can manage our differences without letting them explode into conflict. But the differences aren't going away. Trump announced he'll visit China in April. Xi plans to visit the United States later this year. More meetings, more negotiations, more opportunities for progress or disaster depending on how you look at it. So what does this all mean? Is this the beginning of a new era in U.S.-China relations, or is this just a tactical pause before the next phase of competition? The Busan summit solved some immediate problems. Tariffs down, fentanyl commitments up, agricultural trade restored, rare earth supplies secured for now. But the big issues remain untouched. Technology transfer, intellectual property theft, Taiwan, the South China Sea, military expansion. None of that got resolved in 2 hours. What we witnessed in Busan was pragmatic deal-making. Trump and Xi both walked away with wins they can sell domestically, but the structural rivalry between the United States and China hasn't changed. And until it does, every agreement is temporary, every handshake is fragile, every summit is just buying time until the next crisis. Subscribe for updates as this story develops. Drop a comment with your take. Is Trump making peace with China or just delaying the inevitable confrontation? Hit that notification bell because this is far from over.